The 5 styles of graffiti street art brought to you by Woodrow's World. A comprehensive guide to the 5 main styles of graffiti street art. Graffiti is an art form that has been around for decades, and it has evolved into various styles that express different messages and emotions. In this video, I will briefly cover the 5 primary styles of graffiti street art, their history, and how they are executed. Before diving into the 5 main styles, it's important to understand the definition of graffiti. Graffiti is a form of street art that involves using spray paint or other materials to create a visual message or image on public or private property without permission. Graffiti has been around for centuries and has been used by different cultures and people to express their feelings, beliefs, and opinions. Tagging is the most basic form of graffiti and is usually the first style that new graffiti artists learn. A tag is the signature of a graffiti artist, and it usually consists of their name or pseudonym written in a stylized way. The goal of tagging is to get your name or brand out there, so it's usually done quickly and with minimal effort. The history of tagging can be traced back to the 1960s when gangs in New York City began using graffiti to mark their territory. Over time, graffiti evolved from a way to mark territory to a form of artistic expression. Today, tagging is still used by many graffiti artists, but it is usually combined with other styles to create more complex pieces. To execute a tag, the artist will use spray paint or a marker to quickly write their name or pseudonym on a surface. The writing is usually done in a cursive or stylized font, and the artist may add other elements like arrows or squiggles to make the tag more visually interesting. A throw-up is a more complex form of graffiti that involves adding color and dimension to a tag. The goal of a throw-up is to make the tag more visible and eye-catching, so it's usually done on larger surfaces like walls or trains. A throw-up usually consists of a bubble letter-style tag filled in with one or more colors. The history of throw-ups can be traced back to the 1970s when graffiti artists in New York City began experimenting with adding more color and style to their tags. Over time, throw-ups evolved into more complex pieces that incorporated different colors, patterns, and textures. To execute a throw-up, the artist will use spray paint to create a bubble letter style tag and then fill in the letters with one or more colors. The artist may add other elements like shadows, highlights, or patterns to make the piece more visually interesting. Wild style is a complex form of graffiti that involves creating letters that are difficult to read and adding intricate designs and patterns. The goal of wild style is to make the piece more visually interesting and challenging to decipher. Wild style is usually done on large surfaces like walls or trains. The history of wild style can be traced back to the 1980s when graffiti artists in New York City began experimenting with more complex lettering and designs. Over time, wild style evolved into a distinct style of graffiti that is known for its intricate designs and patterns. To execute wild style, the artist will use spray paint to create letters that are difficult to read and then add intricate designs and patterns around the letters. The artist may use different colors, textures, and shapes to create a visually interesting piece of complex graffiti. Stencil graffiti is a form of graffiti that involves creating a stencil and then using spray paint to apply the design to a surface. Stencil graffiti is usually done on a smaller scale than other forms of graffiti and is often used to create political or social commentary. The history of stencil graffiti can be traced back to the 1960s when artist Black the Rat began using stencils to create images of rats on the streets of Paris. Over time, stencil graffiti has become a popular form of street art used by artists all over the world to create powerful images and messages. To execute a stencil graffiti piece, the artist will create a stencil by cutting out a design or image from a piece of cardboard or other material. The stencil is then placed on the surface to be painted, and spray paint is applied to the area. Once the paint is dry, the stencil is removed, revealing the design. A mural is a large-scale form of graffiti that is usually done with the permission of the property owner. Murals can be found on walls, buildings, and other public spaces and can range in size from a few feet to several stories high. Murals can be created using various styles of graffiti, including wild style and stencil graffiti. The history of mural graffiti can be traced back to the 1970s when artists in New York City began creating large-scale pieces on the sides of buildings. Over time, murals have become a popular form of street art used to beautify communities and express social and political messages. To execute a mural, the artist will use spray paint or other materials to create a large-scale piece on a surface. The artist may use a combination of different styles, techniques, and colors to create a visually stunning and impactful piece. In conclusion, graffiti street art is a diverse and ever-evolving art form that has many styles and techniques. From tagging to murals, each style of graffiti has its own unique history and execution methods. While graffiti may be controversial and illegal in some cases, it remains an important form of expression for many artists around the world. Whether you appreciate or dislike graffiti, there is no denying the impact it has on the world of art and culture. This is brought to you by woodrowsworld.com. Check out the website for fantasy, old school and modern street art inspired clothing, apparel, mugs and more. Thanks for watching.